How you doing, guys? Today we're going to continue working on the 3-into-1 Kohler. I got my coffee with me this morning because I'm looking over the bits and pieces that I got going on over here. I'm going to frickin' need it. So as I indicated in my last video, I decided that the best course of action was to use the engine block that had already been machined at one point in its life to a larger oversized piston. It fit better. The bore itself looks better. I know it's not. I know it's a little rusted in there, but it's just a hair of surface rust, and that'll hone right off, no problem. Overall, the block itself is in pretty good shape. I did pick one of the better bearing plates, or the best bearing plate, I should say, out of the three, so we're going to get that. We're going to use that. The carburetor that was given to me, yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to save this one. This is in pretty rough shape. It's pretty rusted. The choke is frozen. So I'm thinking that we're going to have to be on a hunt for a carburetor, because this guy, I don't believe, is usable. The crankshaft that I wanted to save or use, it's in good shape. We're just going to go ahead and clean that fully. We're going to ditch the rod. We don't need the rod. We'll get a new one. We're going to keep the wrist pin and the piston, because this is the oversized piston. We'll keep those. Those are two good bearings out of the three for the crankshaft. That's the cam pin. We'll reuse the cam pin. Let's take a look here. That flywheel on top is going to be used. We're going to snake the cam out of this and the lifters out of this motor, and we'll use those. Oh, and the reason why the carburetor is such bad shape is because this elbow was on the front, or the inlet, and it must have been shotgun to rain and water, and that just funneled water right into the carburetor, and that's pretty much what probably killed it. In the box is just all the parts that I stripped off the motors. Eventually, I'll pick and choose through that as we start putting the engine back together. As for the head, as I indicated, we're going to try to use the earlier style head, but what that is at a later date. So for today, the big thing I want to get done today is I want to get the block completely stripped down clean. It's stripped down, it's field stripped, but stripped to a point that it's cleaned. Same with the bearing plate. I would like to maybe hone this block as well as do the valves, so that way, and clean all the surfaces and threads, so that way it is ready to be put back together theoretically. So this is the part of these side projects that I do that I just loathe, and that is cleaning the blocks. Before I can put it through my parts washer, I got to get the bulk of the caked in mud and dirt out of the fins. You know, I got to get pretty much all of the caked in crap off it. You can see I've done a fairly good job here. So I'm going to continue scraping all this out, get everything all cleaned. I got to, like, I can't put this stuff, I can't put that through the parts washer. That all has to come off first. So this is the part that makes me question why I do this stuff. Like the bearing plate, this bearing plate has to be completely cleaned off all that dirt before we put it through the parts washer. So, and this is what adds up some time on the project too, where it's not necessarily noticed or seen or even thought of, but this is going to take an hour for me to clean all this stuff up, even before I put it through the parts washer. I think I've already spent like 20 minutes on it. So we're just going to keep on moving forward. We're going to get this stuff all cleaned up, and we still have the goal of getting it honed and pretty much all machined clean by the end of the day today. So the block is preliminarily clean. You can see it's smoking because I just heat the block up with my torch to kind of cook off the cleaning fluid that I use. That's in my parts washer. It's pretty dirty stuff. So just warm the block up a little bit with the torch. Just let that kind of flash off real quick. And then I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start doing some of the cleanup work on it. The first thing I'm going to do is finish putting the threads in the exhaust port for a half pipe. And then I think the next thing we'll do all the gasket surfaces maybe, or I might even hone it next. Okay, so I cleaned the surfaces as well as I chased all the threads. So like I didn't port this yet. I'm gonna be doing that next. But I chased all the threads. If you remember, or you can just roll back in the video, all this was rusted. This whole area here was all rusted. So everything's all cleaned. The threads are mint. I cleaned the deck top with the cookie wheel as well as chased all the threads. Cleaned the bearing plate surface there, chased all the threads. So this engine block is in pretty good shape. Did the fine thread chase through this area here, because if you run this on an RJ, the belt guard gets bolted into that bolt. So we cleaned all that. Everything's all good. Surfaced where the governor goes. That is fairly clean. Now you gotta keep in mind there's another, I'm gonna go ahead and, after I get this all kind of machined, I will go through and spray this all down with brake cleaner, blow it all off, get it super clean. I even cleaned the oil pan gasket surface. So all that's done. Right now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and finish threading the port here for half 14 pipe. So the port's been tapped. It came out pretty good. My big tap might be getting a little dull, but when we take a piece of 1/2-inch pipe, it screws in there pretty good. And it tightens down. It's nice and straight. So that's all good. So now you can run this on a wheel horse just like it was originally designed, meaning the wheel horse tractor, which was 1/2-inch threaded pipe, runs out. Next, we're going to go ahead and get the New Way valve cutting tool, and we're going to cut the valve seats. So the general work to the block has been completed. As you can see, the block has been honed. Yes, you can see a little bit of a halo from where all that rust was, but when you run your finger on the bore, it's totally not, you can't feel it at all. So it's all set. Even though it's a little bit darker right there, it's fine, but the hone itself came out real nice. The valve seats are cut. They're all set to go. The deck has been sanded. Where the carburetor is sanded and cleaned. The port has been cleaned. The exhaust has been cleaned. It's been threaded. That's all set. This whole area is clean. The lifter gallery, perfectly clean, all set to go. The bearing plate surface cleaned, ready to go. All the threads have been chased. And if we flip the block up and take a gander inside, let me get my flashlight. The inside of the block is completely clean and ready to go. The only thing that may need a little extra cleaning is right where the oil pan goes, but that's for a later date. That's not for today. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the piston that was in this motor. I'm going to take it off the rod, take the rings off it, and I want to see how it fits in the bore. I got the piston all stripped down and cleaned. It's actually in really good shape. There's very little scratching on the side, on the skirts, I should say. The top is all cleaned up. It's weird to me. I don't know if that is a 1 or if that's a 2, because it could be a 1 the way it's shaped, but the bottom portion of the second number's missing, which could be the bottom of a 2. So I don't know if this is a 10 over or a 20 over piston. In any event, it doesn't really matter because I'm going to measure the bore and then order the rings that I need. The piston slides in real nice into the bore. There's very little play, so that I'm real happy with that. So even though we may have a little bit of a halo mark or whatever, this piston is going to fit just fine. The pin and the clips are over there. They're in real good shape. I think the next thing we're going to do, so that way we can just get this good and get it to a certain point, is I am going to clean the bearing plate, the crankshaft, and the crank bearing. Taking a look at the heads, I've been completely wrong, and I apologize. This is what I called an early style head. It's not even a Kohler head. I was just looking at it and said, what are these two bolts for? And I just realized that this isn't even a K91 head. I don't even know what it's for. It might be, it looks like it might be a Briggs & Stratton head, to be honest with you. But I don't even know. So that one there, I apologize. I was totally incorrect. That K91 head, the mounting threads for the tins is completely blown out. This one here, this is the one that had all the washers stacked up. And the threads, again, are not in the best of shape. So I'm going to put that one aside. This particular head, the threads appear to be in good shape. It is unfortunately packed with dirt and mud in the fins, and I'm burnt. I'm done for today. So let's take a look at what I did complete. So today, I got all the basics, basically clean and done. One is obviously a lot of work to the block. Cleaned, tapped the port, ran all the threads, cleaned all the surfaces, and then honed the cylinder, cut the valve seats. So I mean, so the block had a lot of attention. The piston was cleaned completely, and we got it ready for measuring. So that's all set. I did pull out a camshaft out of one of the motors, cleaned it, the pin, did the lifters, and I marked them. This is the intake and this is the exhaust. We cleaned the bearing plate, chased all the threads. I did the oil pan, chased all the threads, cleaned and sanded the crankshaft. The bearings are clean, took all the rust off the ends of the crankshaft, threaded, dyed the threads on the end of the crankshaft. I polished the journal with 4.0 steel wool, and it's all set to go. So for today, I think that's good enough. That's just my thought. I'm going to go in and sit down for a little while. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you found it interesting. Kind of saw how I was going to go about putting these engines together roughly. Right now I'm going to measure the bore, measure the piston, figure out what size it is, and then order the rings. Going to order a rod and a gasket kit. And for the most part, I'll be in a position once I get those parts to put this engine back together. So thank you very much again, guys. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you would like, please leave a comment below. And if you can give the video a thumbs up, that would be greatly appreciated. And until the next project, as always, have a great day.